The following short story is suitable for a mixed audience and is a science fiction, or rather fiction story as such. No parts, whole or otherwise, are to be copied, duplicated, reproduced and or transmitted in any way, shape, form or manner without prior written permission given from the sole author, namely myself, Brian Fredwarne McGregor. A Paper Caper by Brian Fredwarne McGregor, 2021. Now, it was the end of the day. I mean, it was meant to be 5:30 when they closed, and yet now it was around 10 p.m. And whilst all the doors were locked, Mitch was still at work, despite it being so terribly late. They, both brothers, worked in a print shop. With that then being the 1990s mind, and photocopying was a done thing. I mean, it was cutting edge technology as such in those times. His brother was a very shy, reserved, humble man whilst alive, and he had only one photo of himself, unbelievably, and that was one his brother, was photocopying, which was on the company's expensive gloss paper, which took ages to dry, although the prints were real life quality, his brother had said previously. Whilst this was a twin brother's business, his brother was the elder as such, and had recently passed, sadly, after a short illness. Now the business was in turmoil as such, but not as much as Mitch's life, for now at least. He missed his brother and worried that this one photo would become lost or damaged at some point, and he knew it was irreplaceable, as his brother was, who had always been busy, and yet being camera shy didn't help either in terms of being photographed. These were two twin brothers, had no idea about their real parents or anyone familial, as they were both raised in a care setting and yet stuck together through and through it all. In any case, and at any rate, it was closing time for now, the brother remarked rather abruptly. At this point the brother sets up his new-fangled printer photocopier and puts the ink setting at the highest quality, as he wanted an almost perfect duplicate, as so to speak. He then takes the only piece of paper out of the packet, whilst throwing the packaging away after reading the backside of the carton. The manufacturer advises checking the ink setting, as the real life setting, despite being high quality, can have unpredictable results. At this point the printing was about to begin, and Mitch was somewhat excited. He never needed this photo before now as such, as him and his brother were inseparable as a pair, and they were together almost 24/7. Mitch offers up a big sigh, then prints off the photo, a standardised size, the size being that of a sheet of paper, an everyday standard piece of paper, albeit on the new expensive paper. He gazes rather fondly at his brother's photo, getting consumed by the conveyor-fed mechanism in this printer photocopier device. Slowly and surely a very wet photo edges itself out from the bottom tray, and Mitch knew to let it come out itself, then hang it out to dry the best he could whilst it was wet. It didn't tear either, although it was probably close to doing exactly that, to be fair. Mitch is overcome with joy as such when the picture finally edges itself out wholly. He takes the picture, then hangs it up on the notice board, makeshift as it was back then. Mitch and his brother look smart together, albeit that Mitch's photo was on cheaper, inferior paper, on this kind of half-broken board, which only he notices himself. Anyway, these days at least. Both photos are now side to side, pinned to the board, and look great together, Mitch remarks, although Stevo's, his brother's one, is still quite wet, although should be dry soon, he hoped. Now, whilst gazing at the photos, he takes a few steps back to admire the new one. At this point he says, "I wish you just would have smelled back then when this was taken." The glossy picture suddenly springs to life, much like a video feed, and his brother Steve-O chips in, "Yeah, I know, I thought of that too." Mitch takes a few more steps back. He never saw that or Steve-O coming. Steve-O adds, "Mum and Dad are here too, Mitch." At this point, he sees two other individuals appear in this almost television-type three-dimensional image, where this very small group of happy faces grin triumphantly. Mitch is flabbergasted. He has no idea what to say. "I have no idea what to say," adds Mitch. "Well, you are too late now," they all chip in, with a rather small tear in their eyes. The paper is about to set, as in dry. All three are chatting happily as a family before suddenly giving a small wave to Mitch to say bye. Mitch gently waves back, albeit sadly. At this point, before then making a most joyful pose where Steve-O, their mum and dad all give the biggest smile, the paper finally dries off, setting their pose. Mitch then sprays fixative lacquer all over the page, which dries right away almost too. Mitch looks at the photo, then asks aloud, "I wonder if there's any more of that paper," while smirking, knowing there is none. Mitch, quite teary-eyed, gazes with great glee at his photo. Something I could only ever wish for. The three frozen faces with glowing smiles simply gaze back, adds Mitch with the smallest smile, whilst remembering the last few minutes fondly. No parts, whole or otherwise, are to be copied, duplicated, reproduced and or transmitted in any way, shape, form or manner without prior written permission given from the sole author, namely myself, Brian Fred Warren McGregor. A Paper Caper by Brian Fred Warren McGregor, 2021.